Hello guys, here comes another trading session. What am I going to do today? Of course, the priority will be on retracement movements, so please bear with me again. If finding an entry point takes 10 minutes, then we'll wait for 10 minutes. In extreme cases, I can enter on the continuation of the movement with significant facts, and now I'm moving on to looking for the situations. Although maybe this search isn't even necessary, although we have a strong sell-off here. And here's an interesting volume. This little stop is well supported. There are two areas nearby. All right, let's think about it. Let's think. A lot of sellers, few buyers. A good solid candle. A strong move from the seller. Well, now I'm going to enter on the retracement. But look, all the volume was at the top. The area of interest is below. Plus there's divergence. USD, JP, JPY. Got it. All right, goodbye. Euro, JPI. Oops. There was a good solid area of interest in this spot. We've gone lower. There's no loss of strength in the cluster below. The cluster is for the seller. We can go lower now. We're passing the first minimum, or rather, we're not even passing it yet. In this candle, there were more sellers and fewer buyers. There's some buyers showing up for me, so this move down might continue. I'm going to take this stop, and most likely I'll be waiting for a retracement for 4 minutes. The entry for the upward move didn't quite work out for me. It's not scary, I just need to be a racer and take what's mine. The reason for entering the retracement move now is against this strong movement from the seller. We're approaching with a good solid candle. The volume is higher than the previous one, and there are fewer buyers in this candle than there were in the previous one for the sellers. More, what does that mean about the further movement down? So everything is clear. In the cluster, the area of interest in the middle is neutral. We went down past it, and at the moment of closing, well, we have volume both from the bottom and from the top. So the strength isn't decreasing. We're also going down according to the cluster. On our way, we will have the first minimum. And on our way, there will be another minimum. This minimum was made just recently. From here, there was a very good upward movement. I can assume that some reaction from the buyer might happen from this minimum. If we suddenly go lower, at this moment, I have taken 4 minutes, and I will have another main minimum. To fly through 2 minimums at once without any corrective movements from the buyers would definitely be tough. 2 minutes to go, but we're still hovering around the opening point. There was a removal of the minimum, so nothing interesting is happening. The only thing I see is that there are now more buyers than sellers. It's a good factor when this happens in the area. Regarding the overall situation, I'll take this update of the minimums. This is the update of the minimums. And it looked really good for a while, but now look at what's happening with these guys, the ones we have as line traders. Yeah, we'll take this minimum, and there will be some kind of pullback movement before it goes up. In any case, if there is really a reversal of this upward movement here, then most likely we will. The maximum we'll do is retest this area, and then the movement down will continue. You can consider, for example, an entry here up to this stop with this distance. For now, I'm prioritizing the buyer for a pullback movement. Basically, there are plenty of facts to try to catch it. But here it is. It kind of happened after the removal. A small pullback movement. This is not what I expected after the removal, but it happened here. So if we don't see a good buyer right now, where will the next buyer be? Closer to this minimum, yeah, after the removal of this minimum. But for me, a very good movement was made from here. There's a good fact that the volumes at these price levels should still be somewhat preserved for buying. And the buyer is capable of making some kind of pullback. So 10 seconds, but all this time, look, for these 4 minutes, it's been hovering around my opening point. That's so disgusting. I don't see any movement. All right, let's figure out what we see here. On this candle, the area of interest remains above and below. There was volume to close below the area of interest for the seller, right? So the buyers. I didn't see the buyer making a pullback on this candle. They tried to go higher. It's closing now, huh? The red is still present, so for me, this movement downwards is likely to this minimum. That's why most likely I'll have to switch my Euro JPY. I'll take these 2 minutes, but why do I always get so lucky? What the heck? An impulse happened. I took an entry here. There was an impulse. I took an entry here. Horrible. Oh, hello everyone. I understand my favorite market. That's it. I have no words. Just so you understand, it was spinning around here for more than half the time, and then it made this move in just a couple of seconds. Do you think this is normal? No, that's not normal, yeah. Let's see what we can do next. The sword and the stop setups are also good trend stops. In terms of the minimums of the trends, I had some good stops. One went through, the second one too. Well, there was some reaction here, a little one, and here, well, how are you going to stop such a candle? No way. From this moment on, let's see if there will be any buyers or if there's going to be some kind of seller's pressure. More. Well, look at that huge candle. It's 4 times bigger than this one and a little more seller pressure than in this candle. But where's that strongest seller? No. Yeah, you need to buy back that candle. There's a seller's cluster from the buyer, so there's still 20 seconds left. Well, I won't be getting into something like that. Well, I personally don't understand what that was. What am I supposed to do with this? 3 seconds to go, plus there is. I had to switch. Why did I have to switch? I was expecting a retracement movement from here. The buyer showed himself a little bit. Everything is good, our volume has increased, but it has dropped on the seller. We didn't see the buyer in the cluster. That's very strange. Next, what did the buyer do again? He tried to go higher, and they started to resist him. And the reds held on to the area, a red candle, somewhere around the middle of the 5-minute candle. That's for sure. So they were giving him resistance. So we didn't have a buyer appear after the removal. So where can the next buyer appear then? He can only appear after the next minimum is removed. You can expect it and take this strong movement behind you. So accordingly, until that minimum, this distance here, I would have tried to take advantage for 2 minutes. Who could have expected those candles? No sellers, a ton of buyers, way less in the cluster. It's just unbelievable. I'm going to look at the ticks. From here, I'm going to search further. And now I see that this candle is big. It just happened on all euro pairs. So CCFGPY, let me check the percentage. The percentage is very high. I'll mark, the nearest stop for the price. I'll see that at this moment, they weren't letting the seller go down. The buyer survived and there was a good upward movement. I can assume that at these prices, there is some buying volume. This will be the first approach in a very long time. And the likelihood of a pullback happening from here is significant because we have a substantial fact. The probability is there. It's hard to say how serious this is, how likely it is. Now, the candle. It was like that. Such a zone of interest at the top was closed by the buyer at 10 ticks, but still went lower. Right now, some retracement movements from the seller are becoming less, meaning the Fed is also involved. I'm considering an entry for an upward movement right now, just for 2 minutes, because they might not reach the layers anymore. A buyer is starting to appear. So from this moment, then there's another candle, which is already kind of strange. It's not very strong against the seller. It has some pullbacks from below in the cluster. There's only 10 ticks here. The area of interest is actually above the buyer. So that means that in this candle, the buyer was already providing good resistance and was able to push the area of interest higher. What do we see next? We see that there are fewer buyers than in the previous candle, and there are more sellers. So we can go lower. Theoretically, we even have a good movement behind us. We have the nearest stop where a buyer might appear. We're going lower again. Retracement movements are starting, where you can clearly see from the volume that the buyer is increasing while the seller is decreasing. So I'm making the assumption that they might take off earlier since the strength from the seller is already starting to fade, even though it was still present in this candle. And I'm opening a trade here in advance. I'm trying to take 2 minutes in advance to catch this retracement in the movement, although I understand that the purpose of this movement is to come into this area. Testing it, possibly an attempt to update this minimum and then go for a close. This misunderstanding that happened was probably due to the news, significant on increased volumes. So 2 minutes. We still have 25 seconds left until the end. That's a very long time. During this time, an impulse in the opposite direction can easily happen. So far, just a little wait. So 1 second until the end. Plus 16 points. So that's our second win. All right, let's try to place it here. I think somewhere around the middle here, set a notification. And I'll go look for the situation further. USDTCF, look at this interesting moment. I'm quickly looking at the candle. By 5, there's a buyer divergence. The number of buyers is the same, but the number of sellers in this green candle is increasing. For me, this is definitely a downward entry. Plus, we're still in the area. 51%. Yeah, damn. GBP, CHF. I marked the area here. There wasn't a strong seller nearby in this area. There was a pullback down. We didn't go. We're going to go up again. Right now, it's a good candle. For what purpose? In order to pass through this area accordingly. Theoretically, a seller can appear after the removal. This maximum, but it seems to me that I marked it incorrectly and the maximum has already been removed. There it was, you see, we stepped over the area. So there's basically no liquidity here. And now, logically and theoretically, our movement is allowed. Open the barrier until the next stops. Next stop, I probably wouldn't take this one, but there's nothing serious here in this place. So there was just one candle here. And I don't like this. There were more buyers, fewer sellers. We're going up, which means the volume has worked itself out. No, the situation won't work, as it already happened. I didn't take it. Cool situation. Look how much the volume hurts. From this moment on, this volume has probably been increasing due to this news. Or here in this sideways movement, but most likely in this sideways movement, it was still rising. From this moment, there was already a pullback movement. And it's not just a moment, it's also a stop that was made on increased volumes, most likely due to news or the market opening exchanges. So we have a significant stop. Of course, I would like to take a retracement movement after moments like these somewhere Closer to this minimum, there's a removal happening. Somewhere around here, I open a buy trade in advance. Here, backward essentially, it's a touch. The body has already formed. We saw the buyer already retracing. It showed. By the way, the volume here increased on the buyer's side. The seller won the purchase, so it's 50-50. Going even further up, well, here comes the euro, GBP. The euro today didn't impress me. The cheap buy that gave me a very strong impulse, where we can basically have an analysis. That same candle is already weakening in advance. There are already more buyers in it, so we're closing on the buyer, just like that. I am euro GBP. I will be catching euro GBP. I'm going to catch a retracement movement here. We'll start at 4 minutes, of course. That would be ideal. Now, wait, stop. There was weakness in this candle. According to the candlestick analysis, and the candle is weak. Small body retracement movements. The volume on the buyer's side was increasing. It was falling on the seller. In terms of volume, the second fact points to the strength of the buyer. Further. Entry. Basically, you see that the area is large here. And we usually see a reaction either when touching, since our candle closed here by the body, or accordingly, the reaction happens from where there were buybacks from the lows or the highs. So there was no reaction to the body, to the area itself. This means the next buyer might appear closer to here. But there was weakness here, and the buyer has already basically demonstrated themselves, showed. Now, to enter on the retracement movement, I need to see an update of this minimum. So this situation is not good for entering with a larger amount. Further, here's the cat with the CHF. I like the stability from the buyer. I would like to take an entry for a rise here. Let's start with 2 minutes. The reason being that the nearest place where a port trader might appear, where I need to complete this entry, will be in this area, considering that I see there are such large ones on this pair. 5-minute candles, what it needs to do again. The impulse is very fast. Here, at this stop, here the seller appears, and you're already getting a pullback. You're not securing your profit. So I'll take 2 minutes here. Next, more reasons. Let's look at this candle. What do we have with this candle? The candle seems weak from the buyer, but I like how the buyer looks in all these candles. So it's practically moving at the same level. At the same time, the seller is just falling. Why is this happening? Because here the strength is following the trend, right? So the trend is going upwards. Accordingly, what should the buyer do after not allowing the seller to go down? He needs to go for a new high in order to continue his trend, right? So right now, it looks like we're trying to update this maximum, and this movement can be further supported, for example, by volumes. And with the cluster, yes, what we have is basically strength to get to this stop, and it's closing right now. Here, the area of interest remains below. We're closing on a weak note, though the buyers are at 4 ticks. But wait for us until the area of interest is below, meaning we passed the area of interest, the seller, and couldn't hold it. That's basically the whole logic. Well, for now at the opening point, we're just kind of spinning around. It's not a big deal. If anything, I'll catch up with it. 2 seconds. Well, guys, you saw it for yourselves. That was lucky again. I see some pullback movements. They're unclear. 2 minutes here. Again, entering for an upward move. It seemed like it was already giving way, but in the end, it made a move in the opposite direction. And now I have questions about the further movement upwards. The candle is closing with a pullback from the top. The volume is generally decreasing, but most likely it's falling due to the lack of the other side. There are fewer buyers now than there were in the previous candle, and there are fewer sellers. So, based on the volume, you can already see the loss of strength from the buyers. There's also some strange seller appearing in the cluster above, in the area of interest. They're pushing it to neutral. So this could mean that there might be some small sideways movement right now, or we might slowly crawl into this area with little bodies like these crosses. Here, it's giving off plus 7 points. I want to point out the main fact about the movement. We don't see any downward movement right now. We can see that the movement from the opening point is still continuing, a bit higher, but there are already some counterfacts against entering for a continuation of the upward movement right now. The situation has been worked out. I'll check if I have anything above. My stop will be up here, right here. This was done just recently. If we come back here again, there's little chance that a pullback movement could happen from here again. But it exists. This is a possibility. For the reason that if the seller shows weakness with crosses here, reaching weak candles like these, you can try to catch a pullback for the movement from here. I'm going to put a plus sign as I approach, while I quickly look for the situation further. I'm just about to get to Chiffa Street, and I want to enter for a downward movement from this point. We're passing by the stops right now. Here's the alert. Going off. Look, it's sharp, and the Jeep alert is going off. So I can't work this out. Alright, let's take a look, and we'll figure out what's happening with the removal. The next stop where a seller might appear will be in this area. Look at the volume we have. Basically, we can open a position near the opening point to catch up. I don't see the point. Look, there's a dilemma here. This stop is currently being removed. Yes, from these two highs with this candle, most likely a rollback movement may join here due to the fact that there is a good seller's fact here. And I also really love stops that are confirmed by the market profile. This is pure bliss for me. So just 2 minutes pure. After the maximum is removed, I want to take this pullback movement. There's still 30 seconds left, but we're very close. For now, we're just waiting a little bit. There are 5 seconds left until the end. The movement is not serious, but my main task was to catch the pullback after the maximums were removed, and I did that. So let's return the amount. Yeah, the whole problem lies with me too, because YouTube and social media really mess me up. I can sit back, look for better entry points, wait for them, and at the same time use fewer add-ons. But there will still be add-ons sooner or later, no matter how you look at it. It's impossible to predict all currency pairs. That's why I increased the amount, as I'm trying to enter the trade based on the best possible indicators right now. I think I'll look for one more situation. And why does YouTube mess me up and why does social media mess me up? Because in principle, I understand for myself that I can work on almost anything. Now poke anyone with your finger and open it up and down at random. I will analyze it anyway. I will still pour out my movement in most cases. That is, it makes absolutely no difference to me. There will be some. The situation could be tough or easy. I know I can work through it all because I have to provide content for people. They need more situations. Yes, I usually end up with about 7 to 10 situations per video. So I'm trying not to just sit and wait for these situations, these approaches, because if I do that, then I'll have 2-3 trades per week, and those 2-3 trades, for you, it will last 5-10 minutes in the video. But for me, those 2 to 3 trades will take an hour or even 2. You understand, right? And for me, the formula of life is time, sign, more, money. So for me, time is more valuable than money. Right now, I'm trying to catch more specific situations, and I want these situations to be clear to you as well. I hope you understood what I explained. I'll try to look for one more situation, but I already understand that I have a good profit overall. I'll lower the trade just in case something unexpected happens. With a profit in the end, I can exit, maybe. So here we have a pullback movement. The price is moving from here. I'm looking further if there will be any. See what the Euro GBP is doing? There was weakness on the candle before the level. We bounced back earlier and couldn't reach it. So well, it seems like a nice situation, right? This is not a serious stop. True. We're bouncing off it. There are more buyers coming in. And there are more sellers. The movement is behind the seller. The area of interest is at the top. We're closing on the buyer. The money button is lit. The volume is increasing. But damn, from this moment there were 2 candles. Then there's another attempt from the seller. And from this moment, we've already seen a large number of candles. There was more volume, but I've already worked the volume here 2 times, even 3 times. And now there are 2 candles. That's very little for me. And plus the seller isn't getting weaker, so no. I went through all the pairs. Unfortunately, I haven't found the situation yet. I'll take another quick look. If I find something, I'll come back. Although I'll come back anyway. So the same pair at the CCHF. There might be an interesting moment in this situation. There are as many buyers and as many sellers as it was in this candle. There are no more buyers. And from this moment, we didn't let the seller go down and started to rise. So there's a chance that there's some volume here. And basically, the overall trend is upward. And we should pick it up from the local level. Because if we pass through and establish ourselves in this area now, then this trend won't make sense anymore, meaning there will be a break. The number of buyers is increasing. There will be a break. The number of buyers is increasing. Let's take an out with the ACHF. I'll try to go with the trend. There's a good sign of a buyer appearing in the area, and that's pretty nice. There's a loss of strength in the cluster below. The third one looks kind of funny. The area of interest is above. It's not a pouring one, meaning it's not coming from below, it's coming from above. I think that the buyer, in general, with such an upward movement from this stop somehow, show it. Maybe the question is just where it will appear, whether it will show up upon touching, or if it will appear after the removal of those minimums. But for this case, we basically have some catch-ups. There's a minute left and nothing interesting is happening so far. We're waiting 5 seconds until the end, but it's just to shave off at the very end. I understood that well from the buying, meaning there was a pullback and an AD movement on the move, but I didn't catch it. I didn't see a good buyer when touching the area. I can assume that now the buyer will appear after the removal of those minimums. Ideally take the entry here on the rise, but take it for a longer time. That is, I'll take 4 minutes here right away for an upward movement. I think I'll take another catch up here. Most likely, after the minimums are removed, I'll take another catch up if we get to them. So the removal is happening and I'm taking another entry for an upward movement for 2 minutes. For now, we're just waiting. We're just stupidly flying below. The entrance will be used now with the third catch up here. 4 minutes for an upward movement. She didn't give it back to me. There was absolutely no reaction from Oh no, there was a reaction from the buyer. We broke this minimum and there was an attempt to do something, but it got suppressed and we went lower. So the buyer didn't have much strength. Now we're approaching this moment, which is very interesting, where you can basically catch a pullback movement. In each candle, the buyer is becoming more and more prominent, but look, the seller isn't falling either. The candles are huge, and that's really unfortunate. Again, there's a sharp, impulsive movement that needs to be addressed. Trying to buy back, and plus there's the fact that there's still some code, so I want to grab some kind of pullback. I'll try my benefit. And I find it very strange that the buyer isn't showing themselves at all in this movement. Let's keep an eye on what comes out of this. That's how you see it. It seems like you're carefully selecting a deal. You're sitting there, but this still happens. It happens. It will happen like this. Next, well, it might lead you to 3, and in the end, I might not even give you 3. That would be really disappointing in the end. We've got 2.5 minutes here for now. We're just waiting. There are 37 seconds left until the end. Another test. In principle, this profile showed itself to be excellent, even better than this shitty stop. But who would have thought it could come down here so strongly? Everything happens. Most likely it will give back a profit here. And however sad it may sound, you all saw it. This profit will still be on the third catch-up. So that's how my trading session turned out. I hope someone finds this useful. I really wanna. It's been a few days. Trading? Nah. In the evening? Well, it just doesn't work out either. I have to do a stream or some other things come up in the evening. Damn. Just like the good old days. By the way, lately all my videos come out during the most volatile times, mostly during the day, while before it was pretty calm. This one, where is it? No, this isn't it. Of course, here it is. Ooh, here is my favorite interval. Look how well everything is going. Everything's great, everything's excellent. I'm going to wrap up the video here. If you found it interesting, hit the like button, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel. And now let's say goodbye.